topics today. We're gonna have, of course, PoktBlade here from Nodies to go over their new project, which is the NodiesDLB, as you can see on the share screen. And after that, we'll have some DAO updates as well, and then open discussions. So, as you already have this up, let's go ahead and turn this over to you, Blade, and go for it.
Cool. Thanks so much for PNF, Ming, for scheduling this for us. Happy to be here and highlight what we've been doing for the last couple of months. This is NodiesDLB's community presentation. It's not a pitch deck. Don't see it as one. Presented by your very own PoktBlade. Let's dig into it. Just give you a little bit of background about what we've been observing into the RPC space before we get into it. There's a lot of RPC providers over the course of the couple of years. We've seen they grow from 1 to 5 all the way up to maybe 20 plus at this point. I started to lose track of how many RPC providers there actually is. And we see a common pattern of these RPC providers that are both centralized and decentralized that are coming up and entering the space, and they're spinning up their own nodes in multiple regions, architecting for redundancy, onboarding multiple EVM and non-EVM chains. They're basically doing what many of our node runners are doing today. And on top of that, what these RPC providers are also doing is that they're continuously building value-added services on top of them. You could think of this as transaction simulation, transaction history, mempool listeners, and etc. It's like basically information that you can't easily get from a RPC node, because blockchain was not really meant, like the way that the data is stored on blockchain is not really meant for querying. It was meant more for consensus and data storage efficiency. And so it's not easy information to actually get from an RPC node, but you still need an RPC node to get this information. And these RPC providers are building value-added services that will grab this information, collect it, harness it, and sell it to their clients. And on top of that, give them access to RPC nodes as they need them as well. And what we see is that as all these continuously growing RPC providers enter the space across the years, I don't actually think this is a bad thing for Pocket. I think it's actually a really great thing for Pocket, because it's a great opportunity for these RPC providers to leverage Pocket for the additional bandwidth that we have and that we harness as node providers, for also just additional compute, cost savings, and etc. And the best way I could describe this is that RPC providers can then think of Pocket as like this super powerful supercomputer or like super managed service for RPC nodes. And instead of like focusing on spinning up multiple nodes across multiple regions and thinking about how can you actually run all these different nodes that run their different software, they could instead focus on building their value-added services and building what they actually need, building basically services that the app users actually need instead of managing that infrastructure. And I see in this call today, I see a couple of node runners that are in here. And as you would know, that running nodes like themselves can be like a pain in the butt, right? And if you're especially trying to build value-added services on top of them, it just can involve a lot of distractions and headaches that you might not want to deal with. So yeah, just to summarize this point all up, is that like these RPC providers that are showing up to kind of look like a competitor for Pocket, I don't see it that way. I see this as a great way for these RPC providers to actually leverage Pocket as like the bare metal piece of the nodes. Going into that some more, Pocket is still very much in its early stages, and it still has a lot to solve before these RPC providers can actually tap into Pocket and meet the needs of the RPC providers and the dApp's needs. If we think of RPC providers as our clients, as an ecosystem, then ultimately we need to earn their trust, right? And deliver value to our clients and prove to them that the Pocket ecosystem is worthwhile using. But in my opinion, we're not quite there yet. I think we're in a great path, but there are some problems that we still need to solve And hopefully our team here is going to help accelerate that and help solve them. Some of those problems that we're seeing today, and you will actually see it inside the Pocket chats themselves, one of those problems is data integrity. We simply just don't have it right now. I'm not going to go too much into depth about this. If you're a node runner, then you would know the problems that come along with data integrity. But this is a blocker for enterprise clients who need this data. They need the data that is reliable and trustworthy. Think of systems like banks or even bridges or payment verifiers, payment processors. They need 100% accurate data. Otherwise, it's an attack vector and a risk vector for them. Another one of those things that we notice that is lacking right now is WebSockets. Once again, these are things that we just don't have, but other platforms do have. And there's plenty of use cases for WebSockets as a dApp user as well. Listening to the mempool, doing MVE, and things like that, right? Real-time events, if you need them, people use RPC nodes for them to get to get access to that information. And then another thing is opinionated APIs. I'll go into that about this one later down the slides, but this is meant to be a problem in the lens of a dApp user themselves, not the RPC providers. But right now, like I mentioned before, blockchain is a pain in the butt to query, and that's what RPC providers are building on top of their services to add as additional complement to building out your dApp. Summary of this slide is pretty much, in the end of the day, we need to enable RPC providers and dApp users to use our ecosystem and meet their needs. Otherwise, simply put, they're going to go somewhere else, and we should strive to meet their needs whenever possible. And this is all to say that, like, not trying to kick down P&I's portal or anything like that. P&I portal shaped and grew Pocket to what it is today. It's an extremely amazing feat to see that we're serving 1 billion plus relays. Actually, 2 billion. We can say now 2 billion plus. And, you know, it's a really great start, right? And it doesn't stop there. You know, V1 is supposed to be a world where apps are permissionless. Anyone can stake into the network and get network throughput. And that just opens up like so many freaking opportunities for Pocket to grow. So, you know, with that being said, like, let's just keep on rocking. Lots to say, lots to innovate, and plenty of room to grow. I actually like that animation. I didn't know that was there. Yeah, innovation. So let's get into the meat of it. What is actually NodiesDLB? It's a gateway that will tap into Pocket Network. For the past 2 or 3 months, we've been in talks with P&I and PNF on stressing the importance of decentralizing the gateways. PNF has even mentioned it inside, I think, one of their forum posts. One of their goals is decentralize it by the summertime, and here we are. Yeah, DLB actually stands for decentralized in name only load balancer. I actually took that name from someone who's in this call today. Ian from Crypto Node Tools. He did a presentation on, I think, Dino at a bar in Tulsa, and he went into kind of like what Dino actually means. And I really like that name, and it really represents what NodiesDLB is. So let's go into kind of like our mission. We really want to maintain decentralization for Pocket Network. As you know, Pocket has limitations today, and we need to find a pathway where we can both meet the dApp's users' needs while still also finding a pathway for these dApp users to feasibly use Pocket Network. And so there are like some creative ways where we could start taking in traffic ourselves and then create a plan to pipe that over to Pocket Network. But yes, one of our goals is to make sure that Pocket Network receives some of this traffic. On top of that, we want to provide sustainable support for dApp users. Right now, dApp users just want way more than just direct access to RPC node. And the protocol doesn't offer it, like, for example, WebSockets. And so we're here to kind of act as a middleman to provide dApp users with what they need, give them those WebSocket access, and then as well work with protocol to figure out a sustainable way to get WebSockets into the protocol, for example. And it doesn't just apply to WebSockets. Things like real-time monitoring, statistics, things like that the protocol doesn't really give you right off the bat. That's what our gateway is here to also help do, and all other gateways as well. Here's one that's really, really I'm proud about, is like prioritizing performance and making sure that we're cost effective. Nodies Gateway is really built by infrastructure experts and people who are very familiar with the protocol. We will really want to set this goal of serving a crap ton of relays for a really cheap price. And this is really significant because as gateway operator cost goes down, that means that we could be more competitive on how much we could charge for relay as an ecosystem. So we just initially set a goal here of like being able to serve 10 billion plus relays using Pocket Network for less than XXX, which is less than 5 figures in both infrastructure costs and as well giving them still stellar latency performance. This doesn't include staffing costs, of course, but just pure infrastructure and automation and software. And then another mission goal, and I think this is the last one, is that we want to provide features to these dApp users that the protocol doesn't support as well. This is kind of very similar to point number 2, but think about things like opinionated APIs, transaction history, transaction simulation. We want to be able to provide that to our dApp users as well. Let's take a look at the market opportunity. Right now, there's a crap ton of dApps that are being built. 1 second. Just a quick check. Can people still see my screen?
Sure can, man.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. My screen flickered. But yeah, looking at the market opportunity, right? There's still a crap ton of dApp users that are building on top of blockchain, and they still are looking for the right provider. Maybe they settled for one provider for a year contract. But once that year contract ends, they're going to be looking for another provider that could provide them even more benefits. Maybe they'll sign up with 2 providers, 3 providers. We don't know. But right now, there's a lot of RPC demand that we could still capture as a network. And if you just look at it today, is that so far we've been relying on P9's portal to drive all our relays, right? And we've gotten to 1.3 billion relays, which I should have updated to 2 billion, but I didn't. But that was just with one team, right? Imagine a world of multiple portals, multiple gateways. V1 is supposed to unlock that ability. And I definitely see with multiple gateways entering the ecosystem, that just dramatically increases our bandwidth in terms of sales, in terms of innovation, in terms of software, and then to the point where we could be the de facto standard of using RPC. And so with us stepping in, I could definitely see a world where we could get it up to 10 billion relays. And then from there, with V1 being released, that could go all the way up to 1 billion plus. Of course, this is just all speculation, but just thinking about like how all these teams with the ecosystem that we built on the node runner side, if we could translate that and also replicate that recipe on the demand side and the portal side, it's just really amazing to see like what is the actual potential of Pocket. So going into more. What else is there in the close future? Yep. So once we're done with, making sure that our services are stable, we want to make sure that we're doing a lot more than just that, right? Once our services are stable and we tap into Pocket networks, we want to build opinionated APIs for our customers to use as well. Like I mentioned before, not really optimized for applications. Is more optimized for storage and consensus, which is not ideal. Example of this is if you want to get all your NFTs from your wallet using like a Ethereum node, you probably have to like send like 100, 200 RPC requests to get all your NFTs within your wallet, which is not ideal, right? You should be able to do that with one API call. And yep, so we want to do this for transaction metadata and then as well NFT metadata as well. Transaction metadata, things like all your balances across multiple blockchains, your transfer history within all your blockchains, and NFT metadata is like, NFTs you owned, NFTs you transferred, NFTs that you've minted. So let's look at the entire or like high level like timeline of everything and let's see where we're at. Um, we of course started with onboarding users to use our HTTP endpoints. We've got that done. We've released it. People can actually go onto the website today and actually use our HTTP RPC endpoints. We're nearly done with being able to onboard users to also leverage our WebSockets. We had to descope it from the initial launch, but I wouldn't be surprised if we could get this in by the end of this week. And then from there, this is the phase that might take the longest. We're still in work in progress with PNF to figure out exactly how do we integrate Pocket. So just to be like fully clear right now, the current application itself doesn't leverage Pocket, but at the same time, we do want to leverage Pocket for that additional bandwidth, compute, and help drive Pocket's roadmap and make it the leader in the space for RPC. So still ongoing conversations with this, but hopefully we'll get those gigastake keys very soon. And then from there, we want to work on the opinionated APIs. Of course, through all this is probably like many steps that I'm not including, building out a sales team, building out more features. As we adjust the roadmap, I'll find a way to make sure that everyone is aware of them. But yep, our team is really awesome. Our team right now is probably composed of 2 system ops engineers. We have 2 people on the front end, 1 person on the back end, and then as well, we're actually hiring for a business development representative, and that's going to help us continuously build out that sales pipeline, build relationships with these dApp users, these RPC providers, and hopefully that will all come together to build out this really amazing gateway for everyone to use. I'm just really proud of where Nodies is right now. We're continuously growing, and with the help of Pocket, I'm really excited to see where we could go with it. But yeah, I just realized I didn't tell anyone what the actual application URL is. It's nodies.app. I want to see how much time I got left. Yeah, I'd love to give a demo of this as well, and then I'll take questions at the very end. Let me pull up the actual app. 1 second. And I'll put it inside the chat as well. You guys are free to use it as we speak, but I'll run through it as well.
And as Blake get that set up, I think this is a pretty important stepping stone that we're now getting onto, and it's pretty exciting to be able to see the gateway starting to be decentralized across the network. So it's all part of the whole project DNA as well of what Pocket is about, right? It's really supporting that unstoppable open data for the future, that we can then see the most important digital infrastructure that's governed by its users, which is all you guys here. And yeah, this is exciting stuff.
That's for the context, Ming. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, thumbs up. Cool. So yeah, we spent a lot of time thinking about from the UX side, how can we actually make this attractive for people to onboard? One of our goals was literally to make it so that way you get endpoint right off the bat. You don't have to think about registration. You don't have to think about payment options. We just want you to grab an endpoint and go. Develop your application. Come back to us once you want to leverage more of our features. And so right off the bat, once you visit our domain, we tell you how to plug into the endpoint from multiple languages. We'll probably add more as they become user requested, but as well, you can easily grab those endpoints and rock and roll. Right now, we're starting out with 5 chains. These 5 chains were just selected based off popularity. But in the future, we could see ourselves growing up to probably 15 to 20 chains in the near future. And definitely here, if you go through the landing page, one thing I just want to point is that, as we continue to work with PNF to tap into the Pocket network, we definitely want to give, credit to them. And so, there you will see a little shout out to the Pocket protocol, but of course, pending Kickstick's approval. Anyhow, let's get started, right? And so whenever you click the button to get started, there's multiple login options here. You can do email and password, but as well, you can sign up with an OAuth provider. Right now, we support GitHub and Google. Just for easy onboarding. We definitely want to get MetaMask login supported soon. I'm hoping to get this completed in the next 1 or 2 sprints. Our sprints are per week. And so I could definitely see MetaMask login being supported within the next 1 or 2 weeks. I'm just going to sign in with GitHub. Once you get into GitHub, you will be prompted to the dashboard. If you're a new user, though, we actually spent a lot of time prioritizing what a new user experience looks like. We call it NUX. But if you were to log in with a new user, you'll be prompted immediately to create an application, which will look like a screen like this. You just type in your application name, description, hello, Pocket community call, type in description, and then choose a chain you want, and just pay attention to this. I'm not sure if there's enough frames to capture it, but we spent a decent amount of time on the animation to make the rocket go up. And then from there, you get your API key, which you could copy and put into an RPC node. You can put it into an RPC library and immediately start calling it for RPC access. And you do that through JavaScript, Python, and even through curl. And then from there, go back. We also support statistics. Right now, I don't have any statistics in there, but our statistics are actually aimed to be pretty in-depth. We provide information about all the error codes. So like, for example, for like status code 200, 5XX, and then as well, we also give you the information about your average latency per call. And right now, we're really focused on growth, so everything is free. As we continue to build this out, we'll start thinking about how do we monetize this. Right now, Pocket Network has a lot of compute to use, and we really want to use that compute and then later on focus on monetization once we start to leverage a decent amount of that compute. But yeah, that is the demo. You want to keep it sweet and short. And then I will context switch back to the slides. I think the rest is pretty much just taking in questions. So if anyone have any questions, you guys go rock and roll and on board me with any hard or easy questions.
Yeah, feel free to type the question as well if you're not able to speak. Pyrrhic says, awesome hat. Agreed.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey, it's Ben here. Awesome presentation. Really great to see it coming to life, and really appreciate the insights you're sharing here so openly. I think it's very valuable for everyone. Probably the question is, what can we all do to help you right now? It's great to see a community project like this going forward. Lots of interested parties here in the community. What is it that we could be doing to help out? And I say that as a community member, not as a PNF person, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We don't want PNF stoning you, right, for asking the wrong questions. No, that's a definitely really good question. And, we really want to make this community focused long term as well. we actually started a new Discord channel where people could come in and ask questions. I think right now, just because we will launch less than a week ago, what the community could really help us do right now is, obviously this is still very early on. Um, nothing, no software truly gets launched, perfect right off the bat. So if we could get the community dog food in it, using it, um, and as well, if you have some suggestions as a dApp user, as an RPC provider on what you want to see, we would love for you to provide those insights inside our Discord channel.
Nice.
I'll send out a link to the Discord channel as well. Is that okay?
Yep, definitely.
Sweet. Pocket News coming in with a pretty hot question himself. A timeline for Gigastakes approval and Pocket integration. I think the last time we had a conversation about the Gigastakes was last week. We are still working with PI and PNF to both work on, there's definitely a lot of there's definitely a lot of administrative things to do before we can actually integrate with Pocket. And so we're trying to make it seamless and transparent for everyone. I don't have an exact timeline for you quite yet, Pocket News, but as soon as we're ready, we'll definitely let you know. If PNF is here, they could also answer, but that's really the best concrete answer I could give right now.
I think Jack's answering in the chat, but maybe you could just shout out so everyone's on top. Oh, we can't speak, but yeah, I think a forum post by the end of next week on project plan for Gigastakes and getting the integration happening.
Yeah, for sure. So any other questions that people want to mention? Otherwise, I'm going to go on a tangent with the time that I have left. This is, I think it was like around 2 or 3 months ago, I wrote up a paper about, the importance of decentralizing the gateways. And, if you've been paying attention to the version 1 specifications, in V1, Daniel Oshansky wrote up a specifications on how you could delegate your app throughput over to a gateway. And this is a really fascinating addition to the version 1 protocol. It just opens up for so many opportunities for many more gateways to show up into the network. And we really want to kind of be like the centerpiece that, pushes for this. Not many people know how to run a gateway today. It actually requires a lot of, knowledge about the protocol to really efficiently use the version 0 protocol. In the future, it will take some time for you to even learn how to use the version 1 protocol as well. And so, another benefit of, getting gateways onboarded early on is that we're able to, help optimize that process and define the steps as we go for other gateway operators as well. And that's what we want to see in the future, more gateway operators leveraging Pocket.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Jack did put in an update regarding that. So optimistically by end of Q2. But there is some tooling developed that may delay things. We'll be bountying the development of these tools. So with the help of the community, we can accelerate the timeline. So that would be the answer to that time frame. All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Looks like a few folks are typing here. Yeah. So in the meantime, I'm really wondering too if there's other folks that are now looking into also creating their own gateway. I think this might start a nice trend as well.
What are the obstacles faced launching your own gateway? I think the launching the gateway as is right now has gone pretty smooth. I think that what's going to be more relevant is how we integrate with Pocket and leverage the throughput that Pocket offers in a sustainable way. Um, I don't want to go too much into the weeds, but as we both know, V0 still requires you to basically cherry pick your own nodes. And, cherry picking was initially implemented by PNI, and I think every other gateway that shows up in the V0 world will need to think about their cherry picking mechanisms as well. We've been trying to design a way that where we could reliably cherry pick our own nodes in a way that is going to provide us the most amount of reliability, latency, and data availability. And so to answer your question directly, Pocket News launch went pretty smooth. I think the harder part is going to be the challenges that comes along with integrating with Pocket. And whenever that time comes, we'll definitely be transparent with it and let you know on how we actually integrate with Pocket.
Yeah. So Ian has comment as well. Love the name. Thanks for the shout outs. Have some questions later on. Curious about how others who are interested in running a gateway might be able to prepare themselves for becoming a gateway operator. Will the NodiesDLB be able to onboard other providers, sort of as a precursor to becoming an additional Pocket gateway? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that is we won't necessarily onboard other gateway operator. It's more of like making sure that this knowledge is transferable to other gateway operators. One thing that was mentioned in some conversations with PNF and PNI is that we create this new channel within the Discord where gateway operators can openly share information, and that in return will allow for collaboration and innovation for the entire ecosystem.
Also, another idea is perhaps to have a gateway operator call as well. So I think that would be interesting where operators can, in similar fashion, like the no runners, can join the call and share thoughts, ideas, and updates or progresses as well. Jack is typing here that he states previously expected there to be a very small limit to a number of gateways we could grant app stakes to due to the limits on the number of app stakes. But in talking with PNI, we have realized there may be a path to enabling Solo to be created. So more on this to come in the forum post. That's good news.
Realize this is all a little teaser for everyone. It's like more news to come to you soon. But I legitimately do think like this has been a work in progress for multiple months now, and a lot of this is starting to hit. It's starting to come all to fruition, and so I definitely do look forward to all the forum posts, all the Twitter posts, and things like that. It's really exciting time for Pocket.
Yep. Definitely.
I know, Ming, I know that you also mentioned that there's more stuff in this site, this community call. So with the last 2 minutes that I do have, I just want everyone to know as well is that we're doing a giveaway and a promotion for the launch of NodiesDLB. We haven't launched the actual campaign itself yet, but I think it's going to be launched tomorrow. But you guys, everyone on this community call can get a head start. But effectively, if you register on the application, then you may be eligible to win some free Pocket. And as well, if you send at least 10K requests to our endpoints, then you may be eligible for some Pocket as well. So I just want to let that out there. If you guys want to do that, participate in that, that'd be pretty awesome. And as well, it gives us some live production traffic to help us improve.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the time. And once again, really fun being part of this ecosystem. And thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you, Blade. That was awesome. So yeah, if you guys wanted to give it a try, the link is in the chat. Just sign up for your username account and then give it a roll, and you'll be able to enter this contest that Blade just mentioned as well, and hopefully get even more excitement out of that on top of using it. So yeah, thank you. All right. So with that, we can probably go and back to some of our other agenda items. So first, I do wanted to call that I did start that community praise channel. So that's something that anyone can go and hop on to. Just shout out to anyone that has either provided you support or you've seen them doing something great and supporting others, or building something great for the ecosystem as well. I think everyone probably have someone in mind that they can definitely shout out. And we've already seen some good ones being shout out already. Of course, I go ahead and started it. So Ian, of course, from CryptoNode.tools, one of our node providers, he's been a great help for on the node support channel. So I wanted to call him out. So thanks for all your awesome work there. You see it. And of course, PoktScam team. So Michael, George, Romero, and I'm sure many more created a dashboard that keep track of our POK supply and burning. So it's been pretty awesome to watch that day in, day out now, and weekly changes to the burning. Wanted to, of course, call the H5 Law for assembling being a stud. He's continued to elevate himself from being first as a active community protocol developer to now joining the protocol team to do it full time. So awesome work. I'm looking forward to see more to come on what you've been working on and doing. And of course, we got some awesome voter status folks. Romero got his voter status, so congrats. I think he became our 60th voter in our DAO. So that's a good number as well, number 60. PoktBlade, of course, earned his well, while ago, so it's an OG. But of course, H5 Law also got his voter status too recently, so another call for them. And then Ian, of course, wanted a shout out to Image Batman and PoktBlade once again for open sourcing tools that he has used to learn a lot in his growth as a node runner and developer. So yeah, awesome folks, and love seeing the praises. So keep them coming. So we'll share them and get some shout out to everybody. With that said, is there anyone that want to shout out anyone else on this call? A little shy. Okay. All right. So with that said, we'll go ahead and continue on some of the other updates. So of course, we had our gateway fee burn, which is about 197,698.92 POK, which was performed on May 22nd. So this is a weekly burn, and it's pretty excited to keep track. I think the graphics going to be updated a bit as well, to not only showing how much was burned per the week, but also the community of total burn. And of course, friend adjustments for the inflation reduction. So the multiplier for the relay to token multiplier parameter is now valued to 485, which is about 0.000485 pop per relay, which targets the daily emission value about 610,000 POK, which corresponds with the SER emission schedule. And of course, also adjusted the SSWM parameter to 2.735, reflecting the average spend of servicers. So those are some of the DAO transactions that has taken place recently. We also have some a new proposal actually from Ben. from PNF, which is the PIP60. This is the continuation of the ERA. So this is to enable the responsible allocation of budget for the ERA budget. So little TLDR, the proposal is to request funds as outlined within the ERA post. So this made up the budget about 1.143 or 1.1 million. So 1,143,000. There you go. Towards Translational Keystones projects. That's me led by PNF, which 80% of the incoming DAO allocation for each cycle will go towards the community contributions. So the two mechanisms, it's going to span the life of the ERA leading up to the V1 launch. So yeah, this is a proposal now that's live for anyone to take a look and comment as well, and really to framework the entire the DAO and the systems that we have going right now to support our Keystone projects. So in case anyone needs a little overview on what the Keystone projects are, of course, creating a wPOKT ERC20 token, which I'm sure some of you are pretty excited about. Attending a Tier 1 exchange listing, launching a new gateway to a protocol, completing V1 economics and governance R&D. The budget also, of course, is going to help with continue help with IDS, which is community suggestions, the bounties programs, the sockets, and the POPs. So yeah, a lot of things are going to be funded out of this mechanism, and it's really going to drive that the value to your entire community to be able to really contribute and do what they are able to do best for the ecosystem. So speaking of ERA, we did have some interesting names that are being suggested for as a nickname. ERA, it's what Ben said, it sounded a little maybe a little boring for that face for the period. So I think right now we got the Dawn, Neogenesis, Evangelion, Space Park, to name a few that's kind of been suggested. So I wanted to see if anyone else have any other names. I think this is a pretty good exercise as well. If anyone have any interesting names they want to use, or maybe vote on those ones that are already called out. But if you do have some suggestions, you can also put it into the suggestions channel or here in this chat, and we can call that out as well. I think some of them are pretty nice. I think the Dawn is nice. I like the Dawn. We did have a question as well from HFI Law. Is there any plans to get some maintainers for PoktJS and Polypok or PolyPok, especially Polypok, since it seems to be lacking a lot? That's a great question, and I don't know if I. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it looks like PoktJS did just receive a contribution from Blade. So again, being a stud as he is. Sockets are also available for anyone to utilize as a contributor, especially for the PyPOK.
Hey Ming, yeah, it's a good chat in there, so I'll let it keep running. But it's a nice segue, I think, to maybe just talk about sockets and the POPs, the Pocket Open Priorities. Which all comes back to the ERA. So just maybe starting at the top. I feel like there's a sense, or has been a sense, that we're sort of all sitting around and waiting for V1, which is a luxury we don't have, and I think not a good way to think about it, because look at what can be achieved with the Nodies team and that fantastic presentation that we sort of started this with. So I would say what is most important, perhaps as important as the V1 launch, is all of the work that we do leading up to that launch to make sure that the launch is the most impactful that it absolutely can be. So that is the sort of idea behind this ERA, which is like defining the path to that, seeing it as a really critical step on the journey, and then making sure that our resources are allocated towards that. I think a lot of DAOs, and I could put Pocket in this category, sort of just respond to what comes in. A proposal gets thrown into the DAO and everyone sort of mobilizes behind that. that's not a really effective way to work. That's not something that has everyone pushing in the same direction and leveraging all the creativity and talents of the community. And that's what Errors is trying to do. The ambitions have been stated. We've defined what are some of the keystone projects that sort of take us on that path. And now we want to make sure that those keystone projects are funded and that anyone that wants to contribute to this roadmap towards V1 can do that by supporting those projects, by working on bounties or things that work around the broader ecosystem, or using their own inspiration and creativity to figure out how they want to contribute to our ambitions and leading metrics. So that's sort of, the outline for the era and the era budget. The budget calls for specific line item accountability around these keystone projects so that we have clarity on what people will get or the ROI for those investments in the keystones. And then opening up the DAO allocation to be prioritized towards people that want to work on our ambitions. So the examples would be, if somebody wants to work on wPOKT as an example, they can open up a socket and they can just start working on that. And by working in the open, the funds will continue to flow until their work on wPOKT, as an example, is closed. The other new mechanism that we're introducing is to prioritize some specific pieces of work, things that we know that need to be done but don't currently have an owner to execute. These are things that we call pocket open priorities, where essentially they'll open like an RFP type process, where they will take submissions, there'll be an assessment, then there'll be the allocation of work and funds to sort of go away and execute on that. And I think this is going to be another key component of our ability to push towards V1 by making sure things like wPOKT or other things around the ecosystem get the love and attention they deserve by really clearly stating that funds are going to be made available to work on that. So that's like the broad architecture, why we've asked for essentially a DAO budget which prioritizes these things, and then some new mechanisms that are going to be open to everyone. We really want to continue to have innovation and creativity flowing through the DAO and really flowing to execution. We think it's far more important that people spend their time on that than it flowing to proposals and it flowing to, I guess, more layers of governance. So whilst it feels perhaps like a fairly big ask for the DAO and a fairly large budget, it is really to enable everyone to then sort of move on from budgeting and discussions around what work needs to be done and just focus leading up to V1 on execution rather than sort of endless debates. So we're hopeful that will pass and that these funds can start flowing to the community as quickly as possible. But we realise that probably people have different perspectives on this, or a lot more we need to do in educating around why we're taking this approach. So very happy to answer questions around that here or through the forum post, so that everyone can sort of see the vision behind this if they can't already. But yeah, that's probably a little bit longer, a little bit more than I sort of anticipated sharing, but just wanted to sort of call back that, hey, when it comes to things that people see in the community that maybe need a little bit of love or attention, this era budget and this era focus is really about creating the space for people to start contributing to those in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I'll shut up, and then, if there's questions, happy to answer them, of course.
Yep. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Either unmute yourself or you can type it into the chat, as always. And just also want to mention too that Ben just posted a Pocket DAO OS post as well within the forum, which really outlines the broad structure and the program that he just mentioned, so that you're able to kind of read through that and look through it to get all the main details of everything that has been shared. Okay, I didn't really see any questions, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask too. I mean, how does everyone feel so far in terms of all these the programs that has been rolled out in terms of being able to really get into the thick of things that you wanted to do. I know proposals are not always fun. So with this, hopefully we'll be able to really get folks to start thinking, hey, this is what I wanted to do, uh, how I want to contribute, and now I have a lesser roadblock to really just do it. So yeah, if anyone have any thoughts on it, feel free to share as well. It's like Throw is typing. But in the meantime, Ben, are you able to provide some of the updates as well regarding the marketing as well as the wPOKT? I know we had a question as well from Blade earlier in terms of which chain are being thought of for the launch on the wPOKT. Last year when we had the vote, the Polygon was the chain. So I wanted to know if that has changed.
I think the answer to that is TBD. Right now, the focus is really on executing on the specification that's sort of come to us. I think the update to give, which I'm not entirely sure what's been shared so far, but we currently have a team working on a specification for wPOKT. That team is Raid Guild, who are, I think, known and have a very good reputation in the entire Web3 ecosystem. They are people that have delivered a lot of different projects for a lot of different DAOs, which gave us a lot of confidence. And their submission was both technically very sound, very detailed, and from a price perspective also very, very competitive. So they are working on that design specification right now. As to the timing and then sort of the outcomes of like which chain and that sort of stuff, that is all still to be determined. I think what we will do is maybe get Dermot back on one of these calls in 2 or 3 weeks. He can give an update on the project, maybe introduce Raid Guild and have them here to sort of lay out the specification and a little bit more about their work. But for now, what we want to do is just sort of get them started on that and making progress. But yeah, appreciate the questions. We'll try and come back and elaborate on that a little bit more. When it comes to marketing, I think we're getting very, very close to having a head of marketing join us. We did have one candidate who we were extending an offer to, but due to some complications, we didn't move forward with that, which did involve us sort of restarting the process. I think we've now secured a talent that we are really keen to engage. They are actually stepping out of a role in another startup, which means that they should be able to hit the ground running very, very soon. So I think, don't hold me to this, I think we will be announcing a new head of marketing into the ecosystem, probably at some stage next week. So that is really exciting. We were thrilled to have the person. We think they're really, really values aligned to PoktBlade, and think they're going to be a great person to lead us forward with some of the changes around the brand and a new marketing focus. So yeah, I think those two things are probably progressing quite well. I'm probably being a little bit vague just because I'm not in as much detail as maybe someone like Dermot or Jack. But yeah, I think we're making progress on those two key items, which are part of our ambitions. And it's really great to see that coming to life.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to have the HOM being on board. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can be able to really drive once we have the individual onboarded. So yeah, there was a quick question in terms of how the community can help engage the assist with marketing. So as Jack stated, marketing is our core priority. So that means funds is available to people who wants to contribute to that area. So yeah, I mean, anyone that wants to help out, we do have all these programs now open for anyone that wants to contribute. So feel free to reach out. And as mentioned, confirming the hire of a PNF head of marketing, and we'll be joining soon. And yeah, everything is coming to us soon. So wait and see. Exciting things coming. All right. So with that, any other questions? I know we were on the top of the hour, but just, I can probably shoot in another question if people don't mind. And if not, I think this is a great way to end the call.
Nice one. All right, Bing.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining. But yeah, if there's any questions following the call, feel free to reach out, and we can always do async as well. So thanks everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks.